Hello there, this is a bass player from Coldplay, obviously. Today we're going to do something a bit different today because I recently saw something on the internet. Someone was saying, I'm an absolute beginner, what sort of advice do you have? I'm just getting started. And it made me think it's been a while since I was an absolute beginner, and you kind of forget what it's like, I suppose. It's like, when you get to a certain point when you know what you can do, what you're comfortable with and what needs work on, basically. So I just want to give some advice for anyone who's starting out today, basically. So I think my first bit of advice would be, don't go and buy a guitar straight away if you're thinking of getting one, because let's say you spend like 300 quid on a brand new acoustic or electric or whatever. You take it up for a bit, you realise this isn't for me, or you can't get into it, you just not quite getting it for whatever reason. You basically just wasted 300 quid on something that's just going to be sat gathering dust, essentially. So my advice would be, see if you know someone who's got one lying around that you can perhaps borrow, or they might be nice enough to actually let you have it, because then it doesn't cost you any money, and then if you don't, you just can't get into it for whatever reason, you're not just wasting all your money, and you can just give it back to them and they can use it again, essentially. So on the topic of getting one, I'd recommend getting an electric one first, because they're just a lot easier to play. You might think, oh, I'm going to have to buy an amp as well, so it's going to cost me more, but you don't need an amp, because it still makes a sound even if it's not plugged in. You can still play it, it doesn't make any difference. It's probably better getting one because no one's going to hear it, so when you're really bad and you're just starting off anyway, then it won't make any difference. And next thing I'd recommend, if you're starting out, you've been playing for a little while, is try to learn and tune by ear, because if you can tune by ear, not everything is standard pitch. So if you say you learn a song and you think, oh, this isn't right, it's tuned to standard, what's going on? It's probably because it's not standard pitch. So it'll be like slightly higher or slightly lower than the agreed upon A at 440, which is that. So in some songs the A might be like that, or it might be up, something like that. So if you can tune by ear, then that's a good lead into learning by ear, learning songs by ear, because if you can learn by ear how to tune, then that's just a gateway into learning chords by ear and listening out for things on records and stuff like that. So on the topic of learning, when you're first starting out, I would recommend learning a few first position chords like E minor, A, etc. Just the straightforward ones that 90% of all pop and rock songs use anyway. There's a few. And if you learn the sort of, let me think, like A, B, C, so on, if you learn all of them and the minor variants, then you can probably play about 70% of all songs on guitar anyway, because that's just what they use. And finally, the last bit of advice I would give is, don't try and play lead first, because you're just going to be very frustrated. You're going to be thinking, oh, I want to play like Slash, I want to be the next Angus Young. And if you're not quite getting the hang of muscle memory with chords, then you're not going to have much of a chance learning leads as well. It might be different for some people, but when I started out, I didn't start with lead, so I'm never really a great lead player anyway. I never really have been. I'm a much better rhythm player. So I think get a real good grip of playing rhythm first before you go into learn leads, and learn other things by ear and so on, so on. So I think that is about it for my advice if you're thinking of learning or starting out, or just want a few tips and tricks, basically. So yeah, that's all I have to say really. If you want to learn or thinking of learning, or you know someone who's thinking of learning, just steer them in the right direction, and good luck.